there, DWJ. A couple of things are on the table there, and one that's not. I want to make sure you may pick up if you didn't get it already. I brought copies of the Principles of Environmental Justice, which looks like this. It's double-sided. I probably don't have time to talk about it too much today, but I want to make sure you have that reference. And brochures about our organization, looks like this. And something that I don't have hard copies of, but it is available on the internet. It's the Detroit Environmental Agenda. Looks like this. If you have a pencil or paper, I'll give you the address on the internet. It's Detroit, ENV like victory, .org. And basically this is fruit of the work of many organizations to coalesce information of all kinds about the health and pathway to better health in our city, particularly as it relates to environment, but also in ways you may not suspect relating to crime prevention, transportation, energy, and other topics. So I'll just put my props aside for a second. DWJ was started in 1994. We were actually the very first environmental justice organization in Michigan, and we're obviously the oldest and largest at this point. We have about 9 staff members, usually some interns, and we work in collaboration. We found out that the best way to take on the big problems is to team up with folks. So we work with partners like Wayne State University. So I'm glad to have them give us this forum to reach you today. We work with the University of Michigan School of Public Health. We work with a lot of the nonprofits around the community. Eastside Community Network, for example, is a long-term partner of ours in the youth programming, in development of something you may have heard of as LEAP, the Lower East Side Plan. And we work a lot to shape the policies that create cleaner water, cleaner air, and better quality of life. That's our goal. And I wanted to set the backdrop a little bit for what Melissa will talk on later in terms of what's the big deal about household chemicals. And I left my card over there, so if you want to follow up with me later, I'd be happy to get in more depth, but I have about 10 minutes to work with. So I wasn't trying to overwhelm you with a lot of real nitty-gritty detail, but give you the concepts. So one concept is that a lot of our household products give off fumes. And the chemicals that are part of those fumes can have different types of effect. One type of effect can be short-term, like triggering asthma attacks and things of that nature that happen kind of right away. Other types of impact on our health can happen slowly over time. And in some ways, these are the more dangerous because it's harder to tell how and when you're being harmed. Like it's much more invisible and slow moving, but the harm can show up later in terms of cancers and things of that nature, depending on what kind of chemicals you're exposing yourself to. Even depending on your age, it can impact your reproductive health and the health of your children when they're born later. So those chemicals are called endocrine disruptors, which means they change the way our endocrine system works. And our endocrine system, initially, when we're embryonic, it's the roadmap for how your body develops. Right? We're born with an intrinsic set of instructions that tells our body which part should grow first, how long, how fast, in what order. So many of you probably are familiar with people getting sonograms of a baby or something like that before it's born, and they're looking to see, is the heart beating in the right time of the gestation? Are the bones forming in the right way? Things of that nature. All of that is driven and dictated by the instructions in our endocrine system. Also, our level of fertility is part of that mix. And so actually the work that brought me to Michigan in the mid-90s was to work on keeping these kind of chemicals out of our environment. And so they have lots of long super long names, many of them, some of them not so long, like mercury, dioxin. They come when we burn plastics in our incinerator. This is one reason why my organization and others are working to try to increase our recycling rate. I saw Melanie here somewhere who's been leading. There she is back there. She's our resident expert on the recycling in the city right now. And our strategy in that coalition called Zero Waste Detroit is to try to capture as much of our refuge as possible and have it get reused safely. Because we know, among other things, that when the plastic gets burned over here in that incinerator, it releases these endocrine disrupting chemicals. So we have them coming at us from outside the home. We have them coming from some of these products inside the home. And the last one I'll describe is called volatile organic chemicals, VOCs for short. Things, house paint is a typical example of where that comes from, or other things that are like paint that have solvents in them. Nail polish remover. These are some common chemicals that are in our home. So I guess the message I want to drive home to you, no pun intended, is that anything that has a really strong smell and kind of a chemical smell, it's definitely having an impact on you. The question is it how strong of an impact, how lasting of an impact? And Melissa's presentation is going to get more into specific products and alternatives to help you save money, first of all, get the same kind of benefit, and be much more healthy at the same time. So thanks very much.
Thank you. A lot smaller than everyone else. So I'm just going to be really quick. Thanks, Guy, for mentioning Zero Waste Detroit and the work that we do. We are a coalition of organizations really promoting the city's curbside recycling program. As Guy mentioned, in Detroit we have a waste incinerator, and it burns a lot of our trash, and a lot of these chemicals get released into our air and affect the health of our children and people in our city. And so we're really trying to reduce the amount we waste and the amount that goes into the incinerator. And so the work that we do at Zero Waste Detroit is really promoting Detroit's curbside recycling program. If you don't know, who knows that Detroit has a citywide curbside recycling program? Okay. Who didn't know that but is excited and wants to get involved? Great. So I have here on the side actually a sign-up sheet for those who are interested in being involved in the program. If you there are the curbside recycling carts are blue bins. You've probably seen them. They're 64 gallons, and it's a bi-weekly program, which means that every 2 weeks, depending on where you live, if you're on the east side, Rizzo Environmental Services will provide the recycling service for you. If you live in Southwest or the west side, Advanced Disposal will do the recycling for you. It depends on the block you live, but you can get a schedule of when your block recycles, and you can start recycling here. So you can actually sign up today for free. Usually it's $25 to sign up for a recycling cart. But what I can do is after, I can give you some basics on the program. A couple of real basic things is that it's a single stream system, which means that all of the materials, we can throw all of our materials in the cart that can be recycled. So that's really nice and convenient for us. We can recycle paper, plastics that have the numbers 1 through 7 on them. So if you notice on your plastic bottles or jars, you'll have to look for a recycling symbol, that triangle. Who's seen that triangle before, knows what I'm talking about? Yep, so the triangle, there's usually a number inside. If it has the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7 for your plastics, you'll be able to recycle those. So you got paper, plastics, cardboard boxes, glass bottles and jars, as well as metals like soup cans and pots and pans and aluminum foil. Those things can be recycled. I have a cheat sheet here on at the table with all the flyers, so you can get that information on exactly what you can and can't recycle. There are a couple of things, some big no-nos, that a lot of times we think we can recycle, but just in our Curbside program in Detroit we can't, such as plastic bags. No plastic bags in this program. You can recycle those at your grocery stores and at other drop-off sites. So that's just one example of something that you can't recycle. So I encourage you to look at the cheat sheet and sign up as well if you're interested. Those who can sign up are people that live in a single-family home or a multifamily unit up to 4 units. So who's thinking about signing up today and getting started with recycling? Okay, I see a couple hands. Great. So just go to that table, and if you have any other questions about the program and the work that we do, I'll be around for a little bit. So thanks for letting me speak, and I'll let the next speaker come up.